Are you a creator? Then you're probably going to want to watch this episode.
Because it'll teach you how to keep your rights and stuff.
Yeah. So, cue the metal.
So, everybody, whenever they create something, let it be so whatever intellectual property.
Yeah.
Could be a screenplay.
Could be
for you losers writing screenplays.
A video game.
A video game. Could be a comic book.
Graphic novel, as the hipsters
few
call
losers
it.
making comic books.
Yeah.
You want to keep your rights to it. Especially if you're going to be pitching it around to people. You want to make sure they're not going to steal your idea.
Right.
Don't go crazy if you got some low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people who have, like guy dresses up as superhero, goes around fighting crime. You can't patent that. But if somebody wants to steal your entire idea, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you've written this whole big old thing out. Or if you're worried about maybe selling it to a publisher for, like $1,000, and then they end up making like $1 million off of it. That would make me upset. And that would probably make you upset. Mm-hmm. So, how do you pitch this thing around without losing your rights?
Best way to do that, I would say, is to just put it online.
Yes.
Not deal with a publisher or, someone
you mean
else's.
publish it yourself?
Yeah, self-publish. That is probably the best way to put out work to make sure that you have complete control of your property. That's not the easiest, and it's definitely not the best way to get exposure.
Right.
But at least it's a start.
Exposure is the problem.
Yes, because everybody tells you that it's easier than ever to do something because you just put it online, all the tools are there. And yes, but what you're basically doing is throwing a message in a bottle out into an ocean made entirely of messages in bottles. That's the problem.
If you have an audience already, then do that. Because everybody will see your stuff because you have an audience already. But if you don't have an audience and you're trying to build an audience, you might want to go with a publisher or a big name to back your work. A lot of people will tell you to get a copyright.
Yeah.
Which you can do. It's not a bad idea. Mm-hmm. But it's not 100% necessary. Because it costs money and whatnot.
Yeah.
For example, or patents if you're doing something else.
Yeah, if you're inventing something.
For example, Twitter owns 0 patents.
Yes.
And, that means you can just make a company that is a messaging service that's only 140 characters.
Yeah.
You won't, because you won't ever be as big as Twitter. But anybody could just come in and swoop up Twitter's game if they wanted to, but they can't because Twitter's so big.
Yep.
So, patents and copyrights aren't 100% necessary. Copyright, you just need to be able to defend yourself in court if somebody tries to steal your idea, which it's a good idea to put it online.
Yeah. Put it online
in
first.
Some capacity. You don't have to put the entire thing online if you're going to pitch it around.
Just put your elevator pitch idea on there.
Right. Or if you drew one of the characters, have him Instagram him and say, hey, this is this character from this thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
Pitching it around, you'll hear about it someday. That's it. Like, put it on your DV. That's what I do. Every time I draw something, I put it on my DeviantArt, and because it's got the timestamp on it.
Yeah.
They tell you only copyright something. Your copyright's only as good as your lawyer's. And I don't have a lawyer. You probably don't have a lawyer. So, let's say you make an advertisement and Coca-Cola, or you take a photograph and Coca-Cola goes, I like that photograph, and they just take it and they put it in an advertisement. You go, hey, that's you owe me money for that. They're gonna go, yeah, well, we have all these lawyers, and they have the Coca-Cola lawyers.
Yeah, those are some powerful lawyers,
and you can't do nothing about it. I mean, they won't ever do that. They'll give you a little bit of money. They'll give you peanuts, and you'll be like, oh my god, this is so much money. But they'll be like, we're Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure you don't get effed. And if you're going to pitch it to a big company, have it online in some capacity so that you can prove that you came up with the idea first.
Always make sure that it's traceable back to you in some way, shape, or form.
And if you're going to...
doesn't have to necessarily be online, but as long as you have documents that with dates and stuff saying when it was created,
right,
that's fine.
The biggest issue is when you actually go to sign with a publisher or one of these big companies.
Yeah.
A lot of them want all of the rights to all of the characters and all of the stories and whatnot. Marvel, for example, wants everything.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they'll pay you for the idea, but if it sells really well, you get nothing.
Yeah. It's a big problem in the comic book industry, especially like at DC and Marvel. If you're writing for their like named superheroes, you know, if you create something, that automatically becomes property of Marvel or DC.
Right.
So if you do, I don't know if Marvel still has it anymore. Their creator-owned branch, but DC has Vertigo.
Right.
If you create something for Vertigo, you know, I think you keep the intellectual property rights, and you get like a percentage of every time the book is sold. But Warner Brothers gets publishing rights, which means they can put out as many versions of it as they want. They can put it digitally, here and there, whatever. And I think they can sell movie rights if there's a movie involved. That's
a big problem, because that's how you make
all the money. Yeah.
That's how you make the big money in comics. You make a movie out of it.
It's gotten better, you know, within recent years, because now like creators get a percentage of what's sold. But in terms of like creating something, if it's, and this has been happening a lot, especially with DC Comics and New 52, creators leaving because they don't get, you know, any freedom in what they create. Like it has to follow a certain path that DC creates. That's another thing to think of. When you go work for a big publisher, and not just in comics, but in like video games or movies or whatever, you know, the bigger the company, the more important their bottom line is. So they're really, you know, want it to be focused on a certain way that'll maximize the amount of people who go out and buy it. Whereas you may want to do something that's the total opposite of that. It's going to that may actually alienate people.
Right.
You know, they don't want to risk that.
I know video game companies won't allow their like concept artists and stuff to sell prints of their work.
Right.
Which comic book companies will. They'll allow them to sell the original artwork and whatnot. Video game companies won't, and they won't let you show anything while you're working on it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously they're trying to keep everything a secret.
Yeah.
But like, there's some like concept art comes first. I remember I saw the Last of Us concept art like ridiculously early.
Yeah.
I want to say 2010. And well, I didn't see it in 2010. It was made in 2010. I saw it in like 2012.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this game looks really cool. But that's 2 years this guy has this stuff missing from his portfolio.
Yeah.
You know, these other companies, if he wants to go work for another company, they're going to be like,
show us something.
Yeah, show us something that you did at the last company. He's going to go, I can't. So all of that growth he had made as an artist, he can't show anybody. So, I mean, video games, it's really tough to keep your own rights. If you're going to make your own video game, you have to go through the indie market. You're not going to go through a big publisher. Yeah,
because even big publishers who have their own indie label, this was a while back, EA had like an indie contest. You know, if you have an indie game, enter it here and whatever. There was a clause in the contest where anything you submit to EA, they keep the rights to. And that's like a big no,
that's a huge
especially in the indie market. So it's just this whole idea that like, you know, the bigger the company is, the more they want to just control what's out there. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to have any semblance of control over work that you're pouring everything into, it's definitely something to think about.
Right. Image Comics is all creator-owned stuff.
Yes.
So if you have a comic on Image Comics, you keep all of the rights to everything that they publish. For example, Robert Kirkman, Walking Dead, giant success story.
Yep.
He keeps all the rights to all of that crap. That's why you see his name on everything Walking Dead. And you never see Image on anything that the show has. It's not like Marvel where they're
they put everything. Even Vertigo titles will have the DC logo because that's DC.
And Image doesn't care because they're getting all the comic book money.
Yeah.
Walking Dead comics selling ridiculous.
Now, it's interesting because back in the day, that's why Image Comics formed, for creator rights. They wanted, you know, they were sick of the way every time they created something at Marvel, they got nothing for it.
Right.
You know, just the title. I believe it was actually Rob Liefeld who said Marvel wants you to think that, you know, everything is created by Marvel and only Marvel, that there aren't people creating this. So they formed Image Comics so creators can have the rights. But in the early days of Image, you know, the mantra was if you create it, you get a percentage of it. This includes like if somebody did a guest spot on someone else's book, they get a percentage of like the character they create. So like when Todd McFarlane asked Neil Gaiman to do like an issue or two of Spawn, Neil Gaiman was entitled to rights to the characters he created for that Spawn comic, even though Todd McFarlane created Spawn and everything surrounding Spawn. But then it became a whole back and forth because Todd McFarlane was like, well, no, I created Spawn and you wrote from my book, so these are my characters. And Neil Gaiman was like, what? No, you said that I can keep the rights to these characters even though, it's in your book. And there was a whole back and forth. That's why Angela is now appearing in Marvel books, because she was created for Spawn, created by Neil Gaiman, and, Todd McFarlane screwed him out of the rights, and then when Neil Gaiman finally retained the rights, he sold it to Marvel.
So be careful.
Yeah, be very careful. That was a long-winded diatribe, but
there's also like when you submit your ideas to these whoever it may be, you have to like maybe fill out a form, maybe just hit a little checkbox that says you agree to not relinquish your rights, but you have to say that I don't know, like it's pretty much saving the company's ass.
Yeah, like the publisher is allowed to do certain things with it. And
yeah,
like
it's just so you don't say, hey, you stole my idea.
Yeah.
They're not going to, most of the time, they're not going to steal your idea. But again, especially if you put it online first, then you have proof that you made it first.
Yeah.
So do that. Don't put the whole thing online if you're going to be trying to find a publisher, because they're not going to publish it if you're already published.
Just prove that, this is your idea.
Right.
That's the big takeaway from this. Just prove that it's your idea.
I'd like if it's going to be a comic book, put like 4 or 5 pages up somewhere. Yeah. Or like graphic novel, put like 4 or 5 pages up. And then go ahead and try to pitch it. Because you're going to need those pages anyway when you pitch it.
If it's a video game or movie or something like that, put up some stills from it in a trailer just so that they know like what's going on with it.
Right. Or a little demo, some characters, stuff like that. Oh, and when you do sign with a publisher or something, make sure you keep your rights.
Yeah.
Because there will be clauses in that. Read the whole damn contract, even though you're not a lawyer. It's not that hard.
It really isn't.
You just gotta look for the clauses that say they keep the rights and stuff. Which they shouldn't. I hope this helped.
Yeah.
Hopefully your stuff's online anyway.
Let us know if it did in the comments below or on Facebook and Twitter.
If you have anything creative, let me see it. I want to see it.
Yeah. Or if it didn't help at all, let us know. And if you got screwed, we take no responsibility for it.
Yes. Here's all the legal mumbo jumbo. So like this video if you liked it.
Subscribe if you really like it.
Thank you guys very much.
And have a good week. San Diego Comic-Con was last week, and I think out of all the announcements that were made at the event, the first image of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman probably had the largest reaction. Also, apparently the new Mad Max trailer was a big hit, but that's another topic. Reaction to the costume has been mixed, because of course it has. I honestly don't know how to feel about it myself.
When you pull the trigger on the DualShock 4 just a little bit, you can just cock the hammer back a little bit before you actually shoot the thing. I thought that was like the coolest little detail that they could add to the coolest gun that I have.